Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Just a clarification, I sent out a flyer on the floor earlier today. I'm encouraging you to vote for this bill, just if there was any confusion on that. This deals with sexual education in our schools and what we can do to improve that effort. Obviously, sex and its hopeful byproduct, reproduction, is fundamental to the survival of our society. Mismanagement of this powerful force has poignant and long-lasting consequences for us. For instance, when it goes unused for procreative purposes, it leads to a decline in population. If you look at Europe, the Middle East, and the Soviet bloc countries, in all seriousness, they are experiencing a downward population growth trajectory. This comes with disruptive economic and geopolitical consequences. When sexual relations are misused or are used ignorantly, we often end up with hardship. For instance, we have sexually transmitted diseases which afflict individuals and their pocketbooks and the public treasury. We also have unexpected pregnancy, which creates families that are often out of wedlock and casts single mothers into poverty, as is often the case. Millions of dollars of our taxpayer money is dedicated to mitigating the very natural but often unanticipated consequences of sexual relations, individual choices made regarding such. And so it is important that we as a state address this issue with as much attention as an existential necessity of this magnitude would warrant. And so we have SB39, which attempts to strike the balance between school education on sexual matters and home education on sexual matters. What it does is it instructs the State Board of Education to create a curriculum and materials that can be delivered to parents so that they can speak to their children regarding this very important subject, and the values that the parents have can be then taught to their children in that home, rather than us deliberating that here on the House floor and trying to have a one-size-fits-all policy. It provides the materials to the parents at no cost. It requires that the schools notify the parents twice a year of the availability of the materials, and it provides accountability to the legislature on how well this effort is going by providing an annual report to the Education Interim Committee. And with that, I would encourage your support for this bill.
Discussion to the bill. Let me go to Representative Wilcox.
I'm not sure this is out of order with the props, but this is okay.
There are very real consequences, obviously, to what we're discussing. While I absolutely laud the effort to have more parental involvement, I don't know that I'm totally comfortable with us declaring what that should be, and that's all I'm going to say.
Let me go to Representative Hemingway.
First off, Representative, thanks for bringing this. It's a reasonable solution to a problem that kind of got out of hand here last year. But I did have a couple of questions on, let's start with teen pregnancies. Are you aware of whether the number of teen pregnancies, say, over the past 2 or 3 years has gone up or down?
I would not say that I have an absolute command over these statistics, but my understanding from things that I've read recently have indicated a downward trend in teen pregnancy.
And would you also say that might be the case in the socially transmitted diseases?
That I can't speak to.
Well, like I said, I really appreciate you bringing this. There are a lot of questions there for me, but the way I see it is to start. And I'm trying to figure out how these reports to the Educational Interim Committee will go. And I'm also happy that some of these things can go home on, can be picked up or sent over the computer. And hopefully the kids will learn how to get into these sites on their parents' computer. Thank you.
Let me go to Representative Menlove.
Thank you. My question is about what Representative Hemingway just brought up, and that is how to restrict, if we're going to provide good information for parents, which I think is a great idea and something I advocated for last year, what I'm concerned about is placing that on the internet and how that might be restricted in some way. So it's a fine balance between providing accurate information for parents and then restricting it from young children. So I just wondered, is it possible just to make the information available in print form and not place it on the internet so that young children might not have access to it?
That's a good question. I think that there may be some cost advantages to keeping the online option there. This bill gives the Board of Education the discretion on creating the online resource for these parents. And so, that your question may be answered as we move forward with their proposal and design of this system. That, we haven't gone down into the minutia to dictate exactly how that is going to be done with this bill. This is simply creates the construct for them to begin work to do that.
Well, I'm comfortable with preparing the materials. I just have serious concerns about placing that online.
Let me go to Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Representatives, I'm just struggling trying to understand the need for this. There is no shortage of sex ed materials out there in the marketplace or from your church.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Handy.
But I just cannot feel comfortable with, again, compelling the State Board of Education to take one more thing when there are, as we just heard, numerous resources in our community, within our religious society, to combat what is understandably and agreeably a societal problem. But we're compelling the school board to do this. There are finite resources there. Let's use the other resources to combat the societal problem. Let's not let this go forward, please.
And Representative Cox.
20 years ago, this may have been a good idea. I just really don't understand why we continue to walk down this path. There are plenty of answers out there if this is indeed a problem. I'm sure the two people that would ever even look at this in the state would greatly appreciate it, but it just does not seem like it's worthy of the already epic amount of time that we've spent on it. Thank you.
Let me go to Representative Ivory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Now, if I heard the good representative from Weber County correctly, what I heard him say was that sex solves sequester. Now, while that's a much more creative approach than I've ever thought of in terms of dealing with our tremendous fiscal issues, I would propose something else. I would propose a curfew, because the founder's quote that our good representative from Davis County didn't come up with. Benjamin Franklin said, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." And if we were to follow that counsel and let nature take its course, I think we'll be much better solved than trying to take responsibility for what nature should be doing and what parents already know and do so well and have abundant opportunities, has been pointed out. And I urge you to not support this bill.
You see no further lights. I'm going to come back to the good representative for summation.
Great. I will not dispute that there is a lot of information on everything on the internet. In fact, the entire knowledge of the entire world is on the internet if you want to find it. And it's free, and yet we still have people walking around in our society that are uneducated. Yet the information is out there. So why then would we do this with this bill where we ask the schools to notify the parents and say, hey, these materials are available? And that is because our lives, especially the lives of parents, are ordered around the school system. My life and my wife's life, particularly, are dictated by the school schedule. We get announcements that come home from school during the week. We respond. We talk to the teachers. We communicate. We're part of that partnership with the school system to get these students educated. And this is such an important issue. I think that we need to deal with that as well. Also, it was brought up that we shouldn't be compelling the State Board of Education to do this. We are government. This is what we do. We compel ourselves to do things. We try not to compel our constituents and the people to do things. We try to provide opportunity and education rather than regulation. And I think that this is front-running a lot of the societal problems that we have. And so I would therefore encourage your support for this good bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Voting will be open on Senate Bill 39, Parental Responsibility for Sex Education Training. Speaker Pro Tem will close the vote. Senate Bill 39 receives 16 yea votes and 50 nay votes, with 9 absent, fails to pass this House and will be returned to the Senate for filing. And because I have a soft heart, I'm going to Representative Peterson for a personal privilege.
Personal privilege?
Granted.
Wah, wah, wah.
Thank you, Representative. I appreciate that.